Hi guys, and welcome to another video. So today I'm pretty much going to sit here and talk about and discuss who I believe Sunderland should sell this January. Now this doesn't necessarily mean, or isn't necessarily a list of players that I'm going to give you that I believe are going to get sold. It's literally just players who I would be quite happy to see leave, who I don't think are good enough for a side that's supposed to be going for the top two. So I haven't set myself a certain way in which I'm going to do this. I'm literally just going to blab along. So get yourself a brew or something stronger if that's what you need to cope with me. So I'm literally just going to blab along. I keep saying blab along. That sounds really wrong. I'm just going to babble a bit. I don't know what I'm saying anymore. But yeah, I'm literally just going to run through a few players that I don't believe should be here. And I'll give you my reasons why. And then, of course, at the end of the video, you can leave your comments down below if you agree with me or if you disagree. Of course, that's absolutely fine. Everyone has their own opinion. But let's get into it. So first and foremost, the first player that I'm going to say, and you can probably guess it, I've been on many podcasts over the last few months and had said my piece about this player. I've said it on my own videos as well, and that is George Dobson. Now, George Dobson, for me, I stuck up for him for a long time, more so because he's a very young lad, and I like to give the benefit of the doubt to the young lads or the youth that come through. Of course, we did bring him in from Walsall. He captained Walsall from a very young age. Now, that is the argument that a lot of people give me about George Dobson, is, why was he so highly rated? He got Player of the Year for Walsall. I will tell you why. It's because Walsall, that year he did win that award, Player of the Year. Walsall went down every single game. They had backs against the wall. They had 20-30% possession. Their goal was getting peppered, and defensively, yes, he can be okay in terms of getting his body on the line, and he was doing that time and time again for Walsall, yet they still went down. So when he plays for a side that do have their goal peppered, or is getting questions asked of him time and time again, and he has to be alert and he has to concentrate consistently for 100% of the game, then you might see the best out of him, where he's literally just a machine that's going to track back and maybe get in front of shots or crosses, but still, obviously, it clearly wasn't good enough for Walsall to stay up. But that appreciation of the effort was there, so that is where he got that sort of title of, Player of the Season, because he put a lot of effort in, he tracked back a lot. I think he scored one goal for Walsall, which just happened to be pretty decent, and I have seen it, it looks okay. And apparently, according to Walsall fans, that just kind of stuck to him for a long time, and he was kind of eating out on that for a long time. But anyway, he's come to us, who we're a completely different team. We're a team that are supposed to be going for the opposite end of the table. We're a very possession-based side. We often have 60-70% possession. Not saying we make the most of it. Of course we don't. That's why we're where we are now. But when you have a side that do maintain such possession, it makes him completely pointless. It makes his role redundant, because Grant Ledbetter sits in front of our defence and he distributes. We don't need someone like a George Dobson who, is used to just sitting basically with the back line and trying to defend for their lives, because that's when concentration comes into play for me, because people associate George Dobson with a defensive midfielder. Now, if you do have the amount of attacks to defend as he did when he played for Walsall, then that's fair enough. But with us, we might go half an hour without having the opposition in our half, because we do generally play possession football, and it usually is counter-attacking football. But that's where George Dobson frailties come into play, because defensively he needs to be worked and switched on constantly, and he does get caught out defensively as well. And we know how poor he is attacking-wise. Passing it is awful. It's abysmal. He offers nothing going forward, so he has to rely, or we have to try and rely on his defensive duties, and he doesn't have that conversation. He doesn't have that concentration up there like he did for Walsall, because he's constantly getting peppered, as I say. With us, he doesn't have that concentration, and he gets caught out time and time again when he does play. So when we're getting nothing thrown at us, the focus is on his attack as well, which again is non-existent. So for me, he isn't a player for a team that are going forward. I hope all that made sense and it wasn't just gibberish. I feel like I made quite a decent case for him there to get sold anyway, unfortunately, for George. But I don't think George is good enough. It's the wrong club for him. It isn't suited to him at all. I think he'd suit someone who are generally under pressure, and that's why he was ideal for someone like Walsall. Now, next up is the obvious, but I think he has, or at least it's just been confirmed that he's injured and could be out for up to 9 months, and that is Will Grigg. So I'm not going to linger on this one too much. It's Will Grigg. He coming for a relatively handsome fee for League One. It just hasn't gone right for him. a lot of people, for large parts, blamed the service, which I think in chunks of his time with us, yes, the service hasn't been great, but we are in League One. You're not going to get perfect service all the time, but equally, we could sit here and I could make probably a 5-minute highlight reel of sitters he's missed as well. So we can't completely blame the service to him. You have to sit some blame on the man. There has been some really, really bad sitters that he's missed. One-on-one with the keeper, there's been a good handful of chances 6 yard out, and he's put it wide or over the bar or straight to the keeper. There's been plenty of him. I think he could have easily got himself 15 goals last season, or maybe even 15, 20 goals over the time he's been with us. But it's not to be, and it's clear to see that we're just wasting our time with him now. Now we can't sell him because he's injured and he's not going to pass a medical anywhere. But he is a player that I would definitely like to see us sell. Now, one that is actually quite frustrating for me, and that is Haydn O'Brien. Now, O'Brien, when he first come to the club, I thought, right, okay, he's got a championship pedigree, it'll be decent. The first handful of games I saw him around the pre-season and early stages of the league, I thought he actually looked pretty decent, technically looked very good. He was peppering goals with shots, but he just weren't quite coming off for him. And I just thought to myself, okay, this is going to be a belter of a player just waiting to happen. I'm just waiting for the ball to just nestle in the back of the net just once, and he'll be fine. I think he did get the one goal in the checker trade or the pizza, the stuffed crust trophy, whatever it is now. He scored one goal in that, and I thought, right, okay, he'll be on his way now. But since then, he's just sort of died down. We haven't seen him too much, don't get me wrong. But it's another player whose confidence seems shot. Whenever he gets the ball, he tries the same thing, he'll lose it, and then off the ball he's not making the right runs off the ball. He seems a little bit disinterested, a bit like Will Grigg. Maybe not as bad, of course, but he's just not getting himself involved with the play as much as I thought he would do. And just simply putting it, as harsh as it sounds, I don't think he's good enough. Yes, he's been in the Championship and he's done bits there, but he just doesn't seem to be up to it for us right now. So I would happily sell him. Will it happen? Probably not, given he's only just recently signed, but I don't think he's good enough. Now, the last player on the list, it could be a bit of a surprise here, maybe, for some of you, but I am going to say Max Power. Now, my argument for Max Power, which it has frustrated me for God knows how long, and he's really split the fans 50-50, Max Power, because he looks the part of a captain, he acts like the part of a captain, he's almost the perfect Stevie G impressionist. He reminds me of like a young scouser trying to be Stevie G. The way he carries himself, even his running style at times, the way he walks around the pitch, points for other players and screams at them to go there, and there, and points orders. But when you watch what he doesn't do anything. And I really can't exaggerate that enough. He does nothing. He might often pop up every now and then and just pass the ball on, or he might every half an hour pop up around the edge of the box somewhere. And, recently he has got a bit further forward, which I do appreciate, but he's still far from good enough, in my opinion. I was going to retract this and not mention Max Power in this video, but because when I first saw him play under Johnson, or at least when we played in that Lincoln game, he looked very good, and I thought, right, okay, this is the Max Power I know. Because when we first saw Max Power, very, very early on, a couple of years ago, I think he looked very good for the first sort of 4 or 5 games. Then he had a couple of sending offs, didn't he? And the crowd got on his back, and understandably so, because often was stupid sending offs. But since then, it's another player with no confidence, or at least it seems to be. He's very good at acting busy when he's not. If you keep an eye on him, he kind of runs around aimlessly. It's not even like he's tracking back or cutting the passing lanes of the opposition. He's literally just running around aimlessly and nothing. He's contributing nothing to the side. It's a passenger, and that's the word I'm going to use for him a lot, because he literally is a passenger for most of his games. For the 2 seasons he's been here, I think there's probably been maybe 4 or 5 games at an absolute push that I can say, yeah, Max Power stood out there and he played really well. And if you think the amount of games he's played, which is a lot now, that's a poor return for a side that's supposed to be at least looking towards the top 6. I think he has offered nothing. I don't think he will get sold, of course, because he's captain, but he offers nothing. So little. And I think, George Dobson, we give him a bit more grief because, at least he does something that we can criticise, if that makes sense. Like George Dobson, his passing or going forward, I believe, is dreadful. Defensively, although he does have ability to an extent, he can still get caught out. Those are things we can actually pick and choose from George Dobson and say, that's good or that's bad. With Power, because he does nothing, I don't know what to judge him on, because he literally does nothing, Again, I hope that makes sense, and I'm not just moaning for the sake of it, but I cannot put my finger on what Max Power does good. Apart from walk around in circles, point and scream at other players, he does nothing. But yeah, again, like I say, he has gone forward a little bit more, but we need more than that. I think it's a wasted spot in the system that. So we've got, at the minute, we usually play 3 midfield, in the middle anyway. We usually have Ledbetter sat just in front of the defence, which is fine. But then what I think we need is someone who can be the sort of the combination and the key between our third and final third, which I think Scowen can do that in terms of a box-to-box midfielder. Grant can sit, that's fine. Scowen can be the box-to-box, and they need someone else who can really push us forward and attack. Not Power, because he sits, runs around in circles and does nothing. So for me, we need someone else there. Maybe an Embleton to break forward, or just someone new who has that experience, who can drive us on and quickly, because his pace is non-existent. I can't remember him doing anything particularly stand out in recent games, apart from Lincoln, like I say. But other than that, he's offered so little. But those are my key players that I would like to see leave. You could argue maybe like Danny Graham as well. But for me, I think Danny Graham is actually quite a decent player to bring on when there's that sort of 15, 20 minutes left, because he does battle. I do actually quite like the look of him, but he's definitely not going to score 15 goals, 20 goals this season. It's never going to happen, never in a million years. But I believe in certain circumstances, to bring him on for the sort of final 15 minutes or so, ruffle some feathers up top, I think it could be of use. But so those are my key players that I would like to see leave. Dobson, Power, O'Brien and Will Grigg. Those would be my 4 anyway. There's some others, of course, dotted around the squad where I think, maybe. But those are the 4 I definitely like to see leave. Are they going to leave? Probably not. But anyway, that'll be it for today, guys. You let me know who you'd like to see leave the club, and if you agree with any of the players. And if you don't, and you disagree with me, which is fine, by the way, let me know why in the comments as well. But if you have enjoyed, hit the like button for me. It'd be massively appreciated. Subscribe to the channel if you're not already to become a fully fledged member of the Sarny Army. But for now, you take care. Stay jamming.